Hello and welcome to a live episode of LedgerCast. Today I want to do a market overview. We're going to talk a little bit about what's happening in the markets. There's been a lot of talk about whether we're going to doom and gloom or if we can turn up from here and try to avoid lower lows at least as a primary case, if not go up and test all-time highs and whatnot. In terms of sentiment, I would definitely say that it's relatively bearish right now. It's not to mean that it's wrong. We could certainly make lower lows from here. If you want, feel free to ask questions, and I might pop those into the chat. And yeah, we'll just go from there. It's going to be pretty quick. I'm going to cover Bitcoin, and then if you want to ask questions about some of the larger alts or mid caps, then I'll try to answer those too. So first of all, let's just dig into the primary chart here. Let's see if it doesn't like me right now, it seems. I'm not sure if people can see if it's showing everything or if it's just showing what that window is. Might have a little bit of an issue here. Let me just enlarge it. Hopefully that looks a little better. I just tested this and everything was fine. For some reason it is acting funny. Anyway, if anybody wants to give me confirmation that they can see the whole screen, then that would be good. All right. I'm just going to assume that you can see this okay. It worked fine on recording, so I don't know why it didn't there. Anyway, so I'm going to dig straight into really what everybody's been drawing, which is this triangle here where we've been making lower highs, higher lows, generally seeing compression in the chart. And what we've got here is this yellow box. I had a friend ask me this morning. They said, hey, I was thinking about getting back in and I want to know what you think. And in my opinion, the good risk reward on a trade was to buy on the bottom of this line. And if you insist on getting out and don't want to play it long term, then you can sell on the break of that line. It's obviously a pretty simplified answer. My regular co-host, Josh Olszewicz, also has been pointing this out, as have a lot of other people. Some of the low and mid time frame support of this would be if you look at the cloud. We had a TK cross on doubled settings here, and it popped into the cloud. I mentioned on Twitter that I wasn't super enthused about this relatively low volume or declining volume rising wedge. We did fall out of that wedge. I mentioned that we might spend the rest of the day trying to defend that, which we've been doing. I even drew this even smaller wedge that we're as a possibility for trying to break up from that. I wouldn't give that much merit to this, to be honest, but it's finding support off of that 4-hour Keynesian, and we'll see if it can get back into the cloud, maybe try to do the edge to edge or break above. I remember a time in Bitcoin not too long ago, last year in the uptrend, when if you had a bullish TK cross, it was like a guarantee for some pretty nice movement. Obviously, it's a different time today, but if I were to try to point out what I think's going on, I just think we've got compression along this lower trend line, and the question is going to be whether bulls can defend that line. One of the more evil scenarios would be that, it dips below and then pops back up. That would definitely be nice liquidity for the people that seek that, and that would get a lot of people out of the market. That would stack a lot of shorts. People have been talking about sucking in shorts currently, and I don't really buy that argument because there's really not a lot of shorts relative to what we've seen historically. This isn't the chart that I was looking for, but you can just trust me when I say when we were over here in this range, shorts were stacked up pretty hard, and now we're in a similar type of situation, and we don't have the same type of shorts that we had before. So I'm not super confident that we need to go and destroy shorts. Whereas if you look at some of the big alts pairings, and you can do Bitfinex sentiment through longs and shorts on the Bitfinex pairs. I think it was EOS that had just enormous shorts. Ethereum had record high shorts versus the dollar, and it went and squeezed a lot of those before it had this break over the past couple of days. We really don't have an enormous amount of shorts on Bitcoin, so I think the necessity to have a short squeeze is really not something that I care very much about. The bullish scenario for me is that we really haven't sold this off that strongly. So if we were to do a Fibonacci retracement on this, we can see where we went to. If you go off the low to the high, you can see it didn't quite hit the 0.5, which coincides with that 4-hour Kijun, by the way. So we really didn't sell off. We didn't get to the 0.618. I told my same friend if we get below 7,300 or that 618 region, I would have guessed that we would have gone down here to 7,100 or so to have to defend that line again. So if you're bullish right now, then that can be the type of thing that you take a look at and that you put hope in. I do like 30-minute charts. It won't surprise me if we try to challenge this region up here, 7,600. I do think if we get back up here, we will attract shorts in this region. I have no idea what I just did. I can't find my browser anymore. There it is. So I think we would find shorts in this region here, and it would be very interesting. This is also, depending on how you drew this wedge, this is a retest of that one of those wedge lines. I drew it a little tighter when I drew it last night. I drew it on this one where I didn't really have a base. But if you draw from the base and then connect as much as possible, then that retest would be in that 76.25 range if it was soon. But yeah, so I started to get more confident personally when if we actually break this triangle. And I know that's ridiculous. That's a $1,000 move to get to the top of this, but getting to the top of this, that's a nice move that you can play. And if that takes a while, we'll probably see some altcoin action in that as well. But it's not, it's not like we're in some bull market. So anything that happens in here, as much as it may be nice if it suits your play, it's not like we've done anything per se. It's just chop that you can play successfully, and that's great. But it doesn't mean we're in a bull market or we're in a bear market, any of those things. We are in a consistent downward bear trend, and until we break decisively in one way or the other, that's what we'll be in. So I do think it's fair to point out this diagonal. I've got this on my chart, and I have for a long time. To me, this double top, I wish I would have detected that better at the time. That was where things really fell apart. And that's also where you would say there's a significant liquidity pool above that, meaning, there are people that are probably short off of that and intend to ride it for quite some time. So one of the places that you can find liquidity would be above 11.8. And whether that means we go above 11.8 and then it just continues on to all-time high retests, or if you're staring at that 2014 chart like a lot of people love to do, then maybe you get a big trap above that zone before you fall off for good. Because if we break here and then we break here, you're going to get a lot of very, very bullish people. And if you wait until this zone to then die off and do the full nasty 18-month bear market, no new all-time high retests for several years, that type of tenure, then you will have really hurt as many people as possible on a move like this. I think that's probably, when the famous Angelo BTC tweet about the everything under 10K is a distraction before 14K. That's where I personally think that he was coming from with that tweet. I don't talk to him, so I don't know. But that's my 2 cents. In terms of what I personally think is going to happen, I actually like what I see with the 4-hour chart. I think the risk-reward ratio for spot longs currently is pretty good. There's really not that much on the risk side here, and there's a lot on the reward side. That's a relatively straightforward calculation. If you were to enter today, and if you want to set yourself some hard and fast rules, then you could get out, below, say, 7,000 or whatever, and, you can play that up to 8,800 or a break of that. And, if you're on spot, or even if you want to do a margin play with low leverage or something, then you might find success with that. That said, you're definitely betting against the trend, and still at the same time, like on most of the platforms where you might do margin positions, you're hoping that you're calling the bottom, that you're calling trend reversal when you do that. Now, this isn't, from a macro sense, going to be a trend reversal. This is just a swing play that you might keep open for a few weeks, but I like the risk reward on that play. I have a small margin long open, but more importantly for me is that the correlation of alts and Bitcoin is very strong right now, and I do have significant altcoin positions, which I've been trying to keep what I would say relatively small numbers of alts so that I can be flexible if I need to sell them. And also I've been trying to buy stuff that is not on super high trends. I've been trying to be careful with stuff that has already run a lot, and I've tried to take profits where appropriate, because I think what the alts that will get destroyed the most if Bitcoin fully breaks down will be the ones that have already run significantly, and basically they're prepared for the most pain. They've got the most potential harm going forward. So that's kind of what I'm looking at personally. I got time to answer a couple of questions if y'all have them, and then we will go from there. I'm not actually sure how well the chat stuff is working, if it's coming through the way I want. But yeah, so, actually you can even see my watch list over here of stuff that I've been paying attention to. One other thing while I wait to see if y'all have any questions that come through would be the upside down chart. You can type in 1 minus BTC USD and save that on your chart, and you can test your own sentiment. And it's always a very interesting thing to look at to me, because it helps you adjust your bias. And when you look at this, Personally, it seems pretty much just as indecisive to me. Like you had a bearish TK cross and you've hit resistance against the Kijun there. So like you could see continuation of an edge-to-edge trade and find yourself down here. That's up to that 79.50 zone that I was talking about before. Apparently there are a bunch of messages in chat that I'm just not getting, so I apologize for that. So I will try to see if someone can relay these to me, maybe through Telegram. I'm not sure why I'm not getting them. Anyway, I did get one come through. Crypto at night. Why do I think we're getting these giant wicks? I think this is relative to the BARTs. You know, I've heard a lot of different theories on these BART candles. Really, I think it's probably a mix of things. All markets are manipulated. I don't care if Peter Brandt says that it's just crypto or just BitMEX. All markets have manipulation. All markets have crazy stuff that goes on. I've heard everything from you know, maybe these are related to over-the-counter buys and people trying to negotiate pricing and therefore pushing spot around before they finalize negotiated prices on large purchases or sells. To them just being algorithmic, where they're monitoring something, say on Bitfinex, and then making adjustments on BitMEX and whatnot. I don't really know. I don't really care. If you zoom out enough, you kind of get past the BART stuff. I do think you can see a little bit of the stairs up, elevator down mentality with this. I don't really trust the BARTs, but I think if you just average them out, you'll still end up finding trends that you can play. And if they're bothering you, like if these $100 swings, $200 swings, if they're bothering you too much, then you know, you just deal with it. Don't trade it. Trade something else. But yeah, I don't have any big conspiracy theories. It's not worth spending my time on them. Anyway, I'm going to dig into a couple of alts since I can't see your questions. Apparently you're asking them, but I can't see them. I think this one's interesting because it's broken some rules, so I want to look at it. You can ignore these upper trend lines. Those are just dinking around. Salt is pretty wrecked. I have Salt as part of my 100x trading challenge. And, you know, it is what it is. Hey, and by the way, I want to take a second because we have a partner for Ledger Status broadcasts now, for Ledgercast, the podcast, and then also the YouTube videos. I recently partnered up with Delta. You can go to getdelta.io, or if you want to give me some credit so that they'll see that you heard about it from me, you can go to ledgerstatus.com/delta. And I'm really excited to partner with them. I've been talking to them for quite a while, and we finalized the deal. They've got apps for your portfolio, whether you're on Windows or Mac, and whether you're on iOS or Android. They're really great. I love their Pro features. If you've never looked at what you can do with Pro, you can manage multiple portfolios, and you can also do exchange sync so that you don't have to enter every sell and every purchase. They even identify wallet transfers. So then, like, let's say you sell something and then you send it to a wallet. You can identify that you sent it to your wallet, and it's really awesome. Anyway, so I'm managing my main portfolio on this. I'm managing the 100x challenge on this, and I even manage my kids' portfolio on this, so it's really cool. Please check out Delta, and thanks to Delta for being a Ledger Status partner. I certainly appreciate it, and I'm thrilled to work with them. And we're going to work on the type of collaborations that we're going to do and all that kind of stuff in the future. But I just wanted to give them a shout out for now. So the reason I wanted to point at Salt was because it did what you never want to see, which is it broke the prior lows. And I have a diagonal line that's working out here, but horizontally it broke the lows, and you would think, hey, this thing's going to die now. But then it didn't. And one of the things that I've noticed with it is that it's actually got a bull div here where you've got a higher low on the RSI and a lower low on the price. So we got a hidden bullish divergence, and we'll see if it makes anything of that. And it also had a doji on that weekly, and we want to see a positive response off of that. So if we don't get one in the next week or two, then that's not good. But if we do get some positive response, then I will be pleased. There's another common pattern. I'm going to go to a specific altcoin so that I can do that. This is Simple Token. I don't hold this one. My buddy Crypto Messiah, who y'all probably know, does. So he'll be glad that I'm pointing at one of his positions. The reason I want to show this is because this is what a lot of altcoins look like, where they got listed on Binance, they had some ICO. This is probably 2 or 3x what the ICO was. They ran up, and then they just had this bleed out, and then this was what we just got done with. A lot of us got trapped in here. I think I even have a tweet somewhere that said, I love edge-to-edge season. Well, that didn't work out too well on most of these. And yeah, so then we kind of fell out of it. Back when I was on the Crypto Street podcast, I even said at the time, don't expect alt seasons. You'll get some runs, but trade, be a trader. Take your 20% and your 30%. And a lot of people were proclaiming that alt season had started when we started making that last move. And if you had listened to me, and if I had listened to myself, I did sometimes, but not fully. I got trapped on a couple of positions. Then you would have been able to take better profits before. So now is the next test on a lot of these. So we basically re-entered the accumulation zones from before, and we have to see, hey, can we maintain these zones? Personally, I would say that unless this decorrelation happens, then it's going to struggle. But it's possible that these just wrangle their way here for a little bit and don't make lower lows, and everything is fine. I hope so. I do think too many people have too many alts, and that's the biggest thing that scares me for any of this working out very well. So we'll have to see some decorrelation in the altcoin market from Bitcoin if that's going to get better. I retweeted this earlier. Crypto Ray, I don't know this person. It's a good thread, though. They talked about cross-coin price correlation and using it as market indicators. And right now, correlation between Bitcoin and altcoins is super, super high. So right now, my assumption is going to be that if Bitcoin dumps, alts are going to dump really hard. And when I say if Bitcoin dumps, I really mean if it starts to become clear that we're going to make a lower low. I think that alts will suffer a great deal in that scenario down in here. If they decorrelate, then I think some alts will do well no matter what. I personally do not believe in a highly diversified portfolio right now. I've seen a lot of people say that, and I think it's dangerous to assume that you can't find early 2017 prices on altcoins again. There's a lot of coins where they had these huge runs and they've never fully gapped down. So gapped, to early 2017 prices or even 2016 prices. And if you don't think that's possible, then you got another thing coming. And if you look at newer altcoins, I would equate that historical record with what are their ICO prices. So what price did the people that have those coins the cheapest, what do they have it? And I would make sure that that's a line on my chart so that I know what the potential downside is in a trade. And just because it looks low on the chart that you see that's on Binance or Bittrex or wherever it's traded, doesn't mean that it's the psychological low for 50% of the coin supply. And that's just something to be aware of. I generally think the market's okay here. Personally, I think the most likely scenario going forward is boredom. This triangle doesn't resolve until August, potentially. I'm encouraged that the cloud is getting thin here if you're a cloud trader. I don't think we're going to lure in any new money, so we're going to have to get money off of the sidelines. That's established money. I don't think institutional money being in the market or coming to the market in greater force means that the price is going to go up. They may be perfectly willing to trade this and increase their Bitcoin over time. They have trading desks. Goldman Sachs has a trading desk. Everybody has a trading desk. They don't have to be static in their positions just because they've entered the market. So I would just advise to be careful of the narratives, try to play the price action as much as possible, and preserve your capital. That said, I'm going to keep this 11.8 line on my chart for a good while because personally I think we'll hit 11.8 before we hit, say, 4.8. And I'm not saying we won't hit 4.8 ever. I just think whether we go bullish or bearish, to me, up makes more sense than down first. What will worry me is if that's too popular of an opinion. So maybe I shouldn't be saying that on YouTube, but that's where my thought process is currently. Anyway, I got to head out. I'm going to swim lessons, but hope this was somewhat worthwhile for y'all. I will try to refine these. I don't do them very much, so try to make them better over time. And anyway, yeah, we'll catch you next time. Have a good one.
Monuments crumble in the blink of an eye. The easy river has just